Welcome to LLK number 31. That is Knit with Laura and Lola. I am Laura Nelkin. I'm a knitwear designer. I live in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes region. And I am joined by my alter ego, Lola. Lola is fun. She can be a little spicy. I let her out of the box every now and again, and I'm sure she will show up today while I'm sharing everything I have to tell you. I am outside in my garden, in my backyard. I have not shot one of these outside in a very long time, and it's my first time shooting one outside with our new equipment. And I'm going to say it took us a little longer to set up than I thought. And then right as we were getting going, the sun changed its angle and it was like right in my face. And then we got ready to go again. And then my neighbor started mowing. And so if I stop talking for a second, that might be because a tractor is going by and we're just going to let that pass. And I don't know what's going to show up here. One of my butterfly bushes is blooming right over, I guess this is my right shoulder. And earlier there were butterflies landing on it. And I tried to be like, Max, let's get outside right now. So maybe a butterfly will land on that, but I think they like it more when it's in the sunny part of the day. So I'm not sure if we'll get to see a butterfly. Sometimes it's like filthy with butterflies all over it, which is one of my favorite things. I always have a few of them growing in different spots of my yard. Behind me is a creek that runs through our property, and we are slowly kind of reclaiming those garden beds. I've been starting to collect shade plants and planting them in there. So I think if we keep doing these over the years at this angle, we'll get to see that bed kind of blossom and turn into itself. The goal is to have kind of low growth things back there so that we don't shade the creek so much. I'm a little embarrassed because I had told you guys we were going to start shooting more of these logs, and I was going to keep you kind of more up to date with what was going on. And Max and I hit this really good clip with them. And then the last one we did was 2 months ago. And I know what happened. It's not that we weren't working on filming stuff. We had multiple patterns come out that we had to shoot things for, because I really love to support my patterns with a strong video that helps you all out. And then we did Open Minds Mystery Knit Along together, which was an absolute blast. But that ended up being about 8 weeks of knitting together. And we shot a video for almost every clue that came out. I think we had 4 or 5 full videos for Open Minds. So we were certainly working on content, just not one of these like free form, let me tell you what's going on in life experiences. And it's really fun to get to be outside while we're doing this. And I'll keep trying to do some outside until basically the weather turns and it's time to go inside again. I have a clipboard to keep me on track. And typically when I've done these in the past, I've had this kind of format where I've talked about my knitting first and then I kind of talk about life stuff. And I'm going to switch things around today because I feel like it. And this is mine and I get to do whatever I feel like. And the first thing that I want to do is tell you what I'm wearing. And if you remember, if you watched the last log that I did, my prompt at the end of the log was for you to help me name this summer sweater that I'm wearing. And I ended up not choosing any of your names, but the name that came closest was from Carolyn Philpott. And she said, since your summer sweater colorway looks like a cold glass of iced tea, why not call it sun tea? And I really liked that, and I get it. It totally does look like some solar tea or some sun tea. But as I was talking with some friends and kind of working on names, I ended up coming up with solar tea and doing solar as a word and then dash tea, just like I did with novelty, one of my side-to-side sweaters that came out a few years ago. So the sweater I'm wearing is called Solar Tea. I had intended to release it right after Open Minds was complete, to have a summer sweater to knit along with you guys. And I found out late in the spring that the yarn that I used, which is Silky Linen from Essence of Autumn, was not going to be back in stock in her shop until the end of July. And once I found that out, I was like, it's just too late in the season to be getting everybody to do a knit along for a summer sweater together. And then I was working with a tester or two, and we ran into a few blips, not so much with the pattern, but life and summer. I don't know if any of you are finding this, but summer, it just takes longer to get stuff done. Summer is incredibly distracting. I love to paddleboard, so the moment that there's not rain and there's not wind, I am outside on my board in the evening, and there's just like a little less time to get stuff done. Winter seems a little less distracting. There's no gardening to do. There's a few less chores happening. So I ended up deciding to go into testing with Solar Tea to kind of get it knit in a broad range of sizes. And then I'm going to release it in the springtime, and we'll do a knit along next spring. So you're seeing it now. I am loving wearing it, and I plan on wearing it some this summer. So you might end up seeing it on me in photos or things that I'm doing, but I am not going to release it until the spring. And it's got a lovely little V-neck that you can see. The fabric that the Silky Linen makes is incredibly drapey and yummy. I have already posted in my Ravelry group. Sorry, I'm gonna like cover up my mic cord there. That's so unpro of me. I have already posted in my Ravelry group the yardage needed for the sizes. So if you see yarn available and you're like, I'm just going to buy it and stash it, well, you already have those numbers available, and you could certainly ask in the comments below. I'll try to link to that testing post so that you guys can see all of that information. So I'm wearing Solar Tea. Congrats, Carolyn Philpott. What you win is a skein of Gauge Dye Works Solar System self-striping sock yarn. Pretty fun. So this is your prize. Get in touch with me and I will mail it to you. Congratulations. Next up, I am looking at my notes. Other things I am talking about today. Waiting for that car to go by. I have no idea if you guys can hear those or not, but it just gets distracting for me. Other things that I'm going to talk about today are Knit Ithaca, which is my yearly retreat in Ithaca. I released details for 2021's retreat. I want to kind of explain about that a bit. I want to tell you guys kind of what I've been making on the side and working on, and then what I've been reading and eating and watching, and then I will show you my knitting and some other stuff I've got going on. First up, let's talk about Knit Ithaca. So Knit Ithaca, for those of you who haven't heard of it before, is a retreat that I typically run in Ithaca in November. It's normally the last event that I'll do for a year, and it's in my hometown. So it's like getting to bring all of you guys here with me, and I get to share the things that I love. And it's a blast. I am careful with the retreat to not overschedule us, because when I've been at retreats in the past, it's frustrating when you just want time to sit and knit and talk to people, and there's so much going on that there isn't space to do that. So I'm trying to be really careful to balance out knitting time with structured learning time and just hanging out time. I make sure I have time to hang out with you guys, because it would suck if I was like running around and committed the whole time. So I try to make sure there's plenty of time for me to sit down and chat with everybody. And it's just a great way to kind of end the season and lean into winter. So this year's retreat is November, I forgot to write down the dates, which is I believe it's November 4th through 7th. If I get that wrong, we'll put the right dates up on the screen for you guys. That's kind of lame of me not to write that down on my notes. I do have a backup plan if for some reason we can't do the retreat. 2 weeks ago when I got heavy into finalizing everything looked all good in terms of COVID. Right now, 2 weeks later, it seems like we're a little up in the air with this Delta variant. So I have a backup plan if it doesn't feel safe to run the retreat. But I'm hopeful that by November, we're going to be back in shape and in action to be able to do the retreat. So Carol Feller is supposed to be coming from Ireland to be our knitting teacher. If by chance she can't make it across the pond, she's not going to come if she has to quarantine for 2 weeks when she gets home. I have a backup teacher who's awesome. I'm not going to say who that is, just in case. So I really am trying to have contingencies in place. So Carol's going to be teaching knitting. My friend Sarah Gatalka from Luna Fiber Arts is going to be doing natural dyeing, and she and I are working on this really cool technique for natural dyeing with you all, which is a technique that she's done on fabric before, but not on yarn. And she and I have been playing around with that for a bit, and it's super fun. I think you guys are going to really enjoy that class. Sarah is a wealth of information. We are going to do a jewelry making workshop with Alon Griefield of the Metal Smithery, and she is a local Ithaca jewelry artist, and she also runs a jewelry workshop. So she's going to come to us at the Marriott and work with us, and I'm going to design a piece with her that we'll be all making together. So we kind of have plans. It's going to be like a hands-on jewelry piece for you guys. And I'm looking at my notes. We're also going to have Redbird Cider, who did our virtual retreat with us last year. They are going to come, Deva and Eric, and do a tasting with us. They do heirloom ciders from the New York State region. Their ciders are absolutely beautiful. They are also a wealth of information. They are experts in their field. Eric is a pomologist, and he works up at Cornell. He knows what he's doing, and I'm sure we'll tire them out with all of our questions by the end of that tasting. And then I have a few other surprises planned. A few of you, if you want to stay, I have 20 spots available to go to the Inns of Aurora Spa that just opened in Aurora, New York on Sunday the 7th. So people who want to stay for that, you'll stay in a hotel room one more night and we'll all go to the spa together. And we're going to do a variety of treatments there. It is a spa that's built in the Nordic tradition. It was just opened about a month ago. I got to go with some friends. We basically all celebrated our birthdays together one day at the spa. And as I was lying in the room waiting for my treatment, I was like, I think all the knitters need to come here and this place needs to be filthy with knitters. So that is what we're working on doing for that Sunday. It's called Spa Sunday, and that's an extra add-on to the retreat. I know some people need to get back and go to work or get to family or whatever, but pretty excited about that as our little add-on this year for the retreat. So what happens for the retreat is signups are opening Saturday, August 7th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time for everybody who's in my club. So if you are in the N Club or you are in Lola's Choice, you will get an email on Friday, August 6th giving you the link. That link will not work until 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. I've done this before. My husband's got the servers figured out. We are ready for you. I think last year or 2 years ago, two people's orders came in at the exact same tenth of a second, and their order made a baby, which was pretty funny. No one was charged more than they were supposed to be, but we introduced them at the retreat. I think it was Catherine and Marcia. I was like, Catherine, meet Marcia. Marcia, meet Catherine. Your order had a baby together. Congratulations. But we're pretty on it, as you know, Max and I will be on and ready for the signups to come in, and we're pretty used to it by now. It's probably the 5th year of doing this, so we've got that down to a little science. Ask questions if you have any about the retreat. But what I'm going to do for signups is it is a $400 deposit to sign up. It's a non-refundable deposit unless we have to cancel because of COVID or any other health thing that is going on, or some other thing. I'm not even going to bring that into the spirits by guessing what other thing could happen, right? We don't need any of that right now. But if we have to cancel because of something, you'll have the choice of getting your deposit back or rolling it to 2022's retreat. I'm going to let that be up to you if you want that back or you want to just secure your spot for next year. What I have not decided yet is if I'm going to do a virtual retreat, if I can't do the retreat in person. And that, I get to make that decision at a later date right now. So as of right now, those are the Knit Ithaca plans. I am super excited and hopeful and lighting a few candles that it can happen. Moving on from Knit Ithaca. One thing I've been doing this summer, which has kind of become a giant joke at our house, is I have a friend who's a mosaic artist. And if you follow me on Instagram, probably once or twice a week, I'll have a photo in my Instagram stories of a bird bath that I am mosaicing. So I'll just tell you a tiny bit about it. My friend Denise makes mosaic bird baths and pottery and installations. And she invited a group of us this winter to come make bird baths in her garage, which is like a converted kind of mosaic studio. So I've been going there Tuesday and Thursday evenings. I had the foresight or something to be saving all of the pottery that we have ever broken in the last 25 years in a Rubbermaid bin in my basement. So basically every time something breaks, I'm like, great, put it in the mosaic bin, and I bring it down to the basement. And I couldn't even lift the thing out of the basement. I actually had to call my husband over to help me carry it up the stairs and get it in the car. So I am basically making an 800 million pound bird bath that I'm not quite sure. I think we're gonna have to shore up the deck where I wanna put it on our deck. We're like kind of planning some kind of, I can see my husband laughing behind the camera right now. We're gonna put some like steel structure on the deck and then slap that sucker on there. And I want to kind of have it on wheels so I can roll it inside. I'm thinking about making it a table, but you'll see that happening, and I'm sure I will show it to you when it's done. I'm almost done with the base. I feel like 1 or 2 more evenings and I'll be on to the inside of the bowl. What's fun about the bird bath from just like a creative standpoint is I knit and I sew, and those things are creatively so locked down. Like there's so much math. It's not very free form. And this bird bath, I am just going for it. And every time I like break apart a bowl to like do the next section, I'm like, oh, we had the best peanut noodles in this bowl for so many years until I broke it. So there's like a lot of memories, like mugs, things that I've used a lot over the years that then are part of this piece, which is pretty fun to have all of those memories together. So that's my bird bath. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you will know that I had a little double-pointed needle conundrum, and we ended up asking, I took a picture of my double-pointed needles in a hot mess of a pile, and I got some awesome ideas from you guys on how you organize your needles. And my friend Joanna, I just wanted to show you this one thing. I think at some point I'll kind of show you everything I've come up with needle storage, and that makes more sense to do in the studio because it's a little easier to have everything laid out. But my friend Joanna suggested this handwork hardware tube, and basically it's like a giant Tinker Toy tube. There's holes in the top, and you just basically choose the hole that your needle fits into. They're all labeled with the size of needle. And then when you need to get one, you can just kind of pull it out and grab your needles. And if you pull it up just enough, you can just grab the needle that you want. I took it camping with me earlier this week. It was incredibly helpful. My friend Jill needed a needle. I was like, I got that needle for you. I don't think that this would be great to like travel abroad with. I think it would be kind of heavy, and I would take out needles and put them in something much, much lighter. But in terms of like taking something teaching with me when I need to have all of my needles with me, or, camping, I just threw it in my knitting basket and I had it. And I waited till I used it a bit to tell you guys how much I love it, but I do really love it, and I will put a link below for you. Sometimes I buy things that I don't like, and then I don't tell you about them because I don't really want to like throw any shade on anybody for something I don't enjoy, but I do tell you when something is spot on. Sewing. Not so much sewing lately. I actually have a bunch of stuff cut out. I have a matcha top from Sew Liberated cut out with fabric that I bought when I was going to Alaska. I guess it was in Vancouver last summer, and I bought some fabric. So I have that all cut out, ready to sew, waiting for that car to go by. And I also have a top or two cut out just from like a toaster sweater. I think it's Sew House 7. So I have things cut out, and actually once stuff's cut, sewing can be kind of quick. So next time we do a log, I might have all of those things done. The other thing I did when I was meeting with Sarah today about our dyeing project, I bought this absolutely gorgeous piece of, I believe it is a rayon linen. I'm gonna look to tell you what it is. Yeah, it's a linen, and I think it has some rayon in it, and it is dyed with cosmos, coreopsis, Hopi sunflower, and marigolds all grown by her. She basically mordants the fabric and then lays flowers out on top of it, different dye flowers, and then rolls it up really, really tightly and boils it for a while to get all of the color to set into the linen. And I think I'm gonna make overalls out of it. I think that's my plan. If I don't have enough, I don't think I wanna make pants out of it, but if not, I'll make some like lovely linen dress thing. And if all goes according to plan, I am going to go see my parents in Santa Fe in August, so I could just see this being perfect. It also would make a really nice skirt with the shirt, I'm just saying, and it also goes amazingly with my favorite gold oak Itbe. So this shawl, if you don't know what this shawl is Itbe, and it was May's Lola's Choice pattern, and now it's available as kits in my shop, and I wear this gold oak color a lot. It has become my favorite thing to wear, and look how good they are together. So I think you can see I'm having overalls to wear with my Itbe, and I'm gonna make it work. This is like 2 yards, 52 inches wide. We'll see. They might be like some cropped overalls or something like that. See, I'm looking, I have my little, like, what I'm doing here. In terms of teaching, I am teaching at the Pittsburgh Creative Arts Festival in a few weeks in August. And then in September, I'll start teaching online again. I'm teaching for Vogue Knitting, and that is online. So that's not a live one. That's a virtual Vogue Knitting in the September. So I'll be back with them again. And that's been a little while since I have done online teaching. I just needed a break as the weather got good. I taught once or twice when it was absolutely stunning out, and I found that I wasn't as present as I wanted to be because it was like spring and it was so pretty out. So I'm ready as we get into the fall to be doing more teaching, and I miss teaching. I absolutely love it. I get so much inspiration from my students. In terms of what I've been reading and watching, I actually have so much that it's a little overwhelming to tell you. But I will tell you that right now I'm reading Rosaline Palmer Takes the Cake by Alexis Hall. I had read another book by her this winter and loved it. And it's basically kind of a rom-com novel. It's not like, it doesn't trend towards the erotica side of romance novel. It's the romance scenes are pretty clean, and just you get the idea that they had a fun night together, right? But it is basically like she is on the Great British Bake Off, but they call it like the Baketacular, and it is set in Britain, and the writing is incredibly witty and funny, and when they're talking about baking, that's a blast, and it's just a great. My nighttime books need to be escape books, and this is definitely that for me. Listening, I've listened to a few excellent books. Right now I'm listening to Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and I am definitely enjoying it. I've been saying a lot of words like exponential, and he talks about a lot of like physics concepts, and what I've gotten out of it is things are exponential. And I have no idea if the science behind his writing is as on as I think it is, but I'm definitely enjoying a space. It's science fiction, and I'm not a big science fiction person, but it's like really accessible science fiction, and really relatable in terms of if I was ever going to end up in space. I'm going to shut up because I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. But what I am going to tell you is that I also listened to a few other awesome books since I have been on here last. One is FireKeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley, and I would highly suggest that. It's a YA book. It is about Native Americans. I believe it's about a Sioux tribe. It's about a young teenage girl and what she's kind of going through. There's a mystery element to it. There's a drug element to it. It is very well written. There's a herbalist element to it. I should have read up again to tell you all of the pieces, but I would highly suggest listening or reading to that. I also listened to One Last Stop by Casey Mcquinston, and that is another rom-com. It had kind of like a murder mystery element to it that it was absolutely beautiful. What is that? It was a bird. You guys couldn't see it. I saw it. I don't know my birds as well as I want to sometimes. It was a very fun read. It is an LGBTQ novel. And again, I think you would really enjoy it. I absolutely devoured listening to that. I got a lot of knitting done. And then the other book I listened to that I also devoured was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, who wrote Beach Read, which I read last summer. And I actually wish I had read that one instead of listened to it, just because I always need more books to read that are light, and it would have been a great bedtime reading book. But I would also suggest that. So that's a bunch of books for you if you're looking for things to read. I have a few more things queued up that I'm ready for. One is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, who wrote Night Circus, which I adored, and I've heard good things about The Starless Sea. So that's my next thing that's queued up for reading. Watching wise, I've also been watching a lot lately. I watched Mare of Easttown. I mean, it's 2 months, right? So this is like over the last 2 months. I really loved Mare of Easttown. I went to boarding school south of Philadelphia, and so I understood the demographic and like the character development in the Mare of Easttown really well. They called water, their accent, you just got to watch it to know what I'm talking about the accent. But there were some really funny memes that came out kind of poking fun at and understanding how it was great. I would just watch it. I also watched Good Trouble, which I'm not sure if I can call that great, but it was great entertainment. And I'm on the 3rd season right now, which episodes are still kind of coming out for Good Trouble. I also watched Cook of Castamar, which I actually just finished, and that's on Netflix. Definitely enjoyed that. If you like a period piece with great costuming, and there's a lot of drama, very dramatic. I did watch it dubbed with English so I could knit. I didn't bother doing subtitles with it, so I just dubbed it in English so I could keep knitting and working on the things I was working on. And finally, there's some bugs here, I watched Making the Cut season 1 on Amazon when that came out probably a year and a half ago, and season 2 just came out. I'm allowing myself 1 episode a night because it is really fun to watch. I love a good reality sewing show. I don't watch a lot of reality sewing shows, but this is in the ilk of Project Runway. Basically, Tim Gunn and Heidi Klum left Project Runway and they went over to Amazon to do Making the Cut. I think the prize is $1 million and business experts to help people launch their brand, which is a pretty incredible opportunity. And it is just really fun to see what comes off of everyone's sewing machine. So I have a feeling that's why I'm like all jazzed to sew again. Watching that always makes me want to sew. And then if I'm a very good girl and I get something onto the needles and I'm really knitting, I get to watch season 2 of Outer Banks on Netflix. And you are not allowed to judge me for that. That is from me. And it's going to be great fun to watch. Eating wise, I am going to admit I have been lazy and pretty good at cheese and crackers and pesto lately. I did make a version of something that I've made many times in the past, which is basically like broiled zucchini rounds with Parmesan cheese on it and like a little roasted garlic and smoky paprika. And I actually found a recipe that's incredibly like what I do, so I'll link to that below. But if you have a lot of zucchini coming out of your garden, you might enjoy that recipe. If any of you have things you like to make with zucchini, I'm happy to hear that from you, because we are all about to have zucchini coming out of like basically every orifice for a while. The other thing, that was Lola. She talks about orifices, I don't. The other thing we're about to have a ton of is poblano peppers, because this spring I decided we needed poblano peppers and we didn't get enough from the CSA last year, so I planted 4 plants. And I'm just harvesting so many poblano peppers, and I eat them as I'm walking back from the garden, and I know I roast them on the grill, but if you have any other, like I think poblano pepper salsa will be really, really good as we get into tomato season. The other thing that I made probably a few weeks ago when my friend was visiting, I made basil simple syrup for cocktails. So we finished the rhubarb gin, which was yummy. And then I made basil simple syrup, which is basically a cup of basil leaves, like fresh basil leaves, a cup of water, and a cup of sugar. And you dissolve the water and the sugar together, and then you put the basil in and kind of like heat it up and then let it cool down. And then you strain that after it's like totally cold. You get the leaves out of there because they get like wilt and get brown. And then you can use that just in seltzer with some lime. It's super good. And like a cucumber, a piece of cucumber or two. You can use it also with cucumber vodka and basil simple syrup and some lime and a spear of cucumber. I think you'll find there's a few things you can do with it, but I really love like a herbaceous afternoon drink. I find them very refreshing. So the basil simple syrup has been fun to play with in things. I think we tried it. Oh, we did basil simple syrup and some fresh watermelon juice and some vodka and some seltzer, and that was very, very good. So we've just kind of been like playing around with different things with it and enjoying that, and definitely not always needing alcohol to enjoy it. It's great on its own as a virgin drink. I think that's it for everything but knitting. I'm sorry, I have like a bug on my nose, so I'm itching it. Knitting wise, I've been having a very good time with my knitting, and a lot of it is a secret as always. I mean, you can see with Solar Tea, I've had a lot of stuff kind of going on in the background, and I'm disappointed that Solar Tea didn't make it to get out there, but I think it's just going to be great to wait till next spring and do it as a knit along. It is not side to side. It's actually bottom up. You knit the back and the front, but it does have side panels the way a lot of my side to side sweaters do. And then it's got this little like fluttery sleeve that is also a panel that is worked in the same construction. So I think it's going to be really fun to knit together. And makes me look forward to getting through the winter to get to that point together, right? So things I've been knitting, many of you probably have seen Bead Isle, and I'll have Max kind of like flash up a few photos here because I didn't wear it because it didn't go with my outfit. Bead Isle was July's Lola's Choice kit. And I think I'm planning on doing Bead Isle in more colors because as everybody got into it, they were really, I think people are having a very fun time playing with it. My friend Sue, thank you, Sue, your idea was so amazing, did hers with a flower in the center of it instead of the medallion motif that I did, and it is super cool. And she said I could use her chart to kind of like give an alternative in the pattern depending upon if you want to do a flower or you want to do a medallion in the middle. So I have a big bead order to go in because I'm missing a few kind of colors that I think will work really well. But it's basically beaded Fair Isle, which is an absolute blast where you're using different colored beads to create a Fair Isle motif instead of different colors of yarns. So that's been a blast, and I'm probably working on new ones. I think I'm getting there with that. What I have been working on is all I can do is tease you and say beaded Fair Isle is a frickin' blast. All I want to do is beaded Fair Isle. And Lola definitely ran with that for the September kit as well. So I think the September kit is going to knock your socks off. And that is not a hint. It is not going to knock your socks off or on. That wasn't a hint at all, right, Max? It's not a hint. So I've been playing with that. I can't stop knitting them. It's a kit where the yarn that I got, I couldn't get all the yarn in one color. So there's 3 different colorways that are going to get shipped, which I think adds to the fun of Lola's Choice. I noticed with Itbe, it's kind of like, even if you know what's coming, you don't know what color you're getting until you get out to your mailbox. And an absolute blast that just went out to the testers, and they are pretty excited as well. They had a hard time choosing colors, which is always a good choice when they're like not quite sure which color to go with. So that kit is fire, and I can't wait for September, although I don't want August to go quickly. I want August to last because summer is so good. I am knitting on a project in Emma's Yarn, which I'm not knitting on right now because I'm talking to you. They asked me if I would do some kits with them for LYSs, and that is going to come out, I believe, in October. And there's going to be a shawl and a cowl. The shawl is already done. I'm working on the cowl this is what cowls look like for me sometimes, and that is a fun thing to be working on the side. The goal for both of those patterns is that they are not overly challenging, so they're really easy, like pick it up, put it down, kind of, I would say like beginner, advanced beginner, or intermediate, you feel like taking a break kind of knitting. That's my goal for them. The other thing I'm knitting, which I'm definitely not showing you, is the final N Club kit for 2021, and that ships in the beginning of October. It is awesome sauce. I definitely love, 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 love it. I'm working on the goodie to go with it. I'm actually making that with a friend of mine. I like the final goodie for the year to be pretty special and unique and just for club members. So been working on that a lot. That's been lying around in different places in the house as I like consider different possibilities, and then different materials come in that we play around with, and then I debate it out with different people and I change my mind 1,700 times, because that is what designing looks like a lot of the time, is me being like, oh, it could be better, or oh, this material wants to be this thing, right? I kind of play around a bit, and it's so hard for me not to be able to show you stuff, but I'm about to be able to show you something that is awesome, that is not one of my designs, that I've had kind of going in the background. And I talked to you about this in a log this winter, I guess, late winter, early spring. And I am knitting Max a Fraser fur pullover by Kirsten Kapoor. And I'm never sure when I'm working a top-down sweater if I should hold it like bottom up or top down, but I'm using Spin Cycle yarns in 2 different colors. I started with like a lighter green, and I'm like zhuzhing into a darker green, and then I'm using nightshades in the kind of like dark green colorway. So it's like a very, very foresty black. They are just playing absolutely beautifully off of each other. I don't know why I'm holding that in front of my face. Let me come off to the side. I will tell you that Max is pretty excited about his sweater. I'm excited for, I think I have 6 more rounds of the color work, and then I'm just in the knitting around and around and around in the solid color, and that makes it really easy pick up and put down when I need something to knit on but not be like counting or thinking. So this will just kind of be my background, and I'll have it done by the holidays, if not sooner for sure. Part of me hopes Max wasn't gonna like it, because then I could have it, because look how good that looks on me. Isn't that good? Maybe I'll make us matching ones. My friend Jen also said she would take it. I'm looking over at him like, Jen says she'll take it if he doesn't want it. So there's a few takers on the Fraser fur pullover if he's not into it. But it is, I just keep holding it up because it's so yummy. So I'm having a great time knitting someone else's pattern. Kirsten's patterns are beautifully written. It is not a challenging pattern to read or follow. And I messaged her to tell her how much I was enjoying it. And what she said back to me is, isn't it fun to just let somebody else drive once in a while and be along for the ride? And I couldn't think of a better way of putting that, like just knitting somebody else's pattern and leaning into it. I'm not making any modifications. I will, as I get it on Max and I split for the sleeves, he's kind of this inverted V, and I know that the top is going to fit well, so I might end up doing some decreases, like coming down to his hip point just to fit his body well, but that'll probably be the only adjustment that I'll make. I know he won't want it like all boaty. He likes things a little more fitted. So that is what I'm knitting that I can show you. Like, what a tease, right? This is a knitting vlog, and that was just a little knitting at the end. But really, the design work I'm doing that I can't show you is just a freaking blast. And it's why I've been listening to stuff so much and watching so much, because I love a little entertainment. The other time that I listen to books is when I'm building kits. And that is a very good segue into the last thing I have to tell you. In my Ravelry group, once we finished up the Open Minds Knit Along, we switched over to our annual summer Kidalong. And what a Kidalong is a knit along for any one of my kits. And there are like over 100 kits out there. It does not need to be a kit that I made. There's kits over the years that were made by Pattern Works, by Craftsy, by Blueprint, by Craftsy again, who knows what their name is now. I think it's still Craftsy. By Interweave. If any yarn dyer made a kit that you bought for doing open minds, that would also be eligible. And what we have going in the Kidalong is weekly prizes in the Ravelry group if you post a photo of what you're knitting on. And then there's going to be a grand prize that is awarded at the end of August for all finished kits that have been finished within the Kidalong that are tagged correctly. And you can tag things two ways. One is you can tag it on Ravelry, the way I describe in the Ravelry group, or if you just want to post a finished kit in Facebook or Instagram, you'll just use the hashtag Kidalong21, and there are instructions how to do that. We did a blog post that I'll give you below that just gives you kind of like how to participate in the Kidalong. So there's like a few different ways to do it. I didn't want to lock people out of participating who aren't as comfortable on Ravelry, and then I didn't want to lock people out of it who aren't on Facebook and then or on Instagram. It's confusing lately. There's like all those different places, and you guys know me, I like to be as inclusive as possible with my experiences. And I'll say with Open Minds, we did that. We had Facebook going, we had Ravelry going. And there were a few times where people were posting their same question in both places, and I tried to shut that down a little bit just because it's like a lot of work for me to keep an eye on that. But for the most part, it meant wherever anybody was the most comfortable being for a knit along, that's where they could get their support and show what they were doing. And it worked. It ended up working really well, and I'm thrilled with that. And I think the Kidalong can work the exact same way. So like in my Facebook group, I'll just give you the blog post that explains that knit along. And typically I end these with a giveaway, and I don't think I'm going to because the Kidalong has so many giveaway elements to it. What I didn't tell you is that the grand prize for the Kidalong is a membership in next year's N Club. So that's about a $300 value prize. It's a pretty good prize. And I'm sure most of you have a kit of mine somewhere in your stash. Maybe not all of you, but a lot of you over the years have ended up with some kit of mine. And so all you have to do is get that done. And they're typically really easy summer knitting projects. So get that done, ask questions if you have any, post it, and then you could be entered to win. And if you have any questions, ask those below or over in the blog post, and I'm happy to support you in either place. If anything that I just spewed away about for all this time makes you want to share something with me, like, oh, I listened to this and it was awesome, or oh, we just cooked that and it was yummy with my zucchini or my basil or whatever's happening in your garden or at your farm stand, please share with me. I love to hear what you guys are up to, what you're knitting. It's okay if it's not one of my designs. I obviously knit other people's designs too. Absolutely adore it. And hopefully next time I do one of these, I'll get to show you something I sewed, maybe even some overalls. We'll see if that happens. That would be one way to keep myself accountable, right? Is to be like, I promise that I'll have those done, but I'm not doing that, but we'll see. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Thanks for being in my garden. The birds are getting loud. The bugs are starting to bite me. And I will see you next time. Take it easy and take care of yourselves.